Welcome to CosplayPhreak. Today we'll be reviewing my Poolverine helmet. This is not a sponsored video. I purchased this 3D printable STL file from YoshStudios on Etsy for my upcoming Poolverine cosplay. I plan to paint and weather the helmet as well as add foam to the interior for comfort. So let's take a closer look at how to make the helmet. You can purchase the file at YoshStudios on Etsy. You can find the link to their Etsy store in the video description below. Once you receive the file, you will need to import it into a meshing program like MESHmixer to resize and customize the file. I use sizing heads from the creator Budwin that you can find on Thingiverse to help properly size the helmet. You can find the link in the video description below. Once you have finished downloading the file, you can import the file into MESHmixer, and each one of the heads has a sizing guide on the back. Take a tape measure and measure your head circumference. Once you have that, you can now choose the corresponding sizing head that fits your measurements. To get a more custom fit, I do use 3D scans using the Creality Ferret Pro, but we are trying to make this as simple as possible, and Budwin's sizing heads do a great job. If you want to see more information on 3D scanning, please watch my previous video reviewing the Ferret Pro. Once imported, begin to align the head to the build area. After importing the head, finish importing all the files for the helmet. Then begin to align the full file of the assembled helmet. This will give you a good starting point to begin sizing. I like to position the helmet so that I can see the eyes of the sizing head matched with the eyes of the helmet. Note they will not always match as the head and the helmet are going to be off on size. Make sure to enable uniform scaling to properly size the helmet. Next, begin to manipulate the size of the full helmet. If you do this one piece at a time, it may not align properly. So make sure all the helmet parts are highlighted prior to resizing. When resizing, keep in mind what the goal and outcome of the piece will be. Are you just printing a static file which can be closer to the dimensions of your head, hence a tighter fit? Or are you seeking to add electronics, lighted eyes, and padding for comfort, which will require to have a bit more room for a looser fit that will allow space for these items? It all depends on what you're going for, and this can be trial and error for many first-time 3D printing cosplayers. Once you have it resized to your liking, save the final files as object files. Note, rendering and saving these files can take some time. Now that you exported and saved your files, you are now ready to import the files into your slicer. I used to love Cura, but have transitioned to Creality Print as there are some features I like there better than Cura and others that I don't, but we will leave that for another video. Please note the next part of the video I will be fast forwarding as slicing and rendering takes a very long time. After opening your slicer, begin to import one part at a time and arrange it on the build plate. Keep in mind the openings and holes to properly orient the file. I like to use tree supports to minimize material use, but note that all tree supports are not created equally and may fail in the actual print. If you are a seasoned 3D printer, you already know this process. There are times you get beautiful consistent prints, and other times where the machine just wants to be stubborn. But that all has to do with routine maintenance, temperature control, humidity of the material, and the material itself. I am not going to go into printer settings at this time as it is very custom to what you want to do and the materials you want to use. We will leave that for a future video. After the file is imported, oriented, and sliced, you can then export the files as a G-code file, which is what your printer will read and use to print your parts. I know with larger printers we want to fit as much as we can on the large build plate. However, I like to print parts separate as crowding your bed can easily cause failures. And if you fail on a single part, it is less time and material spent on printing than printing several parts together. After the files have printed, we move on to prepping the print. Now this is where you make the decision of keeping a raw file if you printed it already in the colors you are happy with, or moving forward with further processing. If you choose to keep it as a raw file, which is fine as I did in this example, I suggest you deburr and sand the edges. Begin to put the pieces together affixing magnets as well as gluing any immovable pieces in place. You can choose to add mesh eyes, or if you are fancy, add some light up eyes. Just make sure to size the helmet larger to fit electronics if you are going that route. If you choose to move to a more detailed finish, it will require taking the arduous time of sanding. Yes, the 3D printer cosplayer's pastime. Once finished sanding, you can then move to paint, which will require priming, possibly more sanding, repriming, and 2 to 3 coats of paint. If you are permanently gluing any parts, make sure to think of paint before affixing these, as you may have to tape that up if you already glued the parts together. Dealer's choice. Lastly, you can add 2mm foam for padding on the inside of the helmet for comfort if you like. As you can see, the helmet fits perfectly. The magnets help snap it in place and all the parts together. I can move it around without it falling apart. And it looks really cool for cosplay, or just as a standing piece to add to your collection. You can find this specific helmet live on my Etsy store. Please find the link in the video description below. Let's discuss some of the strengths of the file. I like the overall design of the file. From Wolverine's iconic wings and chin strap, to Deadpool's fourth wall breaking expressive eyes. The crossover between Deadpool and Wolverine really captures that cosplayer feel. It's pretty accurate on the parts placement and magnet sizing. Note, with extensive sizing, the magnet holes will change, and you will have to use different sized magnets. I like the ability to not only change the eyes expressions, but also changing the mouth expression. This is the first time I've seen this with a Deadpool cosplay file. Now for some weaknesses. We mentioned the issue on magnet sizing, but that's a weakness to all 3D print files and not the fault of the creator. However, I would like to see more expressions for the mouth as there are for the eyes. The kissy face is great, but would like to see maybe an OMG mouth, or an angry mouth, or maybe even a pouty lip. Ruh-roh. Overall, the helmet file is great. I love the look and feel of the textured pattern. Feels like a knit mask. Yosh really thought this one out and wanted to capture the playfulness of the character. This is definitely going on my Wolverine, or may I say, Poolverine cosplay. I would highly recommend this file if you plan on cosplaying as Deadpool, cosplaying as Wolverine, or are a diehard fan looking for a unique piece for your collection. I give this file 5 out of 5 stars. If you don't have a 3D printer and are looking for a physical printed file, go check out my Etsy store and I'll be more than happy to help you get your very own Poolverine helmet.
Well, that'll do it for today. Thank you for watching this video, and keep an eye out for the upcoming detail and weathering videos. Until next time, my cosplay freaks, I'll see you in the next one.